So this is the design. I made the video content too. Everything based off of the conversations, the brand, the look and feel, the aesthetic he was going for. The first one is really talking about like the brand of Access Performance, the lifestyle you can have as a result of working with Access Performance. So that's what that video is about. And then this video is ultimately showing the onboarding process of Access Performance. It starts with the guy kind of making the decision, I'm going to take my lifestyle and my health more seriously. You come in, you meet Mike, you fill out an assessment about your past, your history. You go over, talk about nutritional things. And then you get into the actual fitness assessment. And then once you get through that workout, you schedule your next one. And that next one is to start to a 52-week program centered around your lifestyle. So that's what this video is kind of showcasing. Here is just kind of breaking down what Access Performance offers. And it's based off of 3 pillars: movement pillar, nutrition, and recovery. And then testimonials, a scrolling marquee, direct quotes from his clients here. And then getting towards the bottom here, again, 1-pager with the access to a chat bot. We put here upcoming things that the brand will be doing. So the ability to train away from the gym with online training programs. So live conversations between the trainer and the client, video walkthroughs on how to do certain exercises when you're away from the gym. Because you got to think about it, his customer profile, his personas are high net worth, busy individuals in their mid 30s to early 60s. This group travels a lot. So there's going to be stints where they're away from Mike for a month, 2 months, whatever it is, but they obviously still want to maintain their fitness. So having this online training program where they can log into a portal of some sorts, get the same production out of a workout by yourself as you would with me, do these exercises. So that is coming soon. And then a fitness training development program for aspiring trainers who not only get his over 10+ years of experience working in high luxury gyms like Equinox. Those trainers there, dude, I've been working with an Equinox trainer. I think it's coming up now 3 years now, and they really know what they're doing. You tell them what's going on with your body and obviously your goals, and then they work a program and adjust a program based off of you. And what he also wants to do is not only just make the next generation of good trainers, but he wants to teach them something that trainers do not get on their road to becoming a trainer, is the entrepreneurial side of things, how to actually run the business of being a trainer. So that is what his development program for trainers will include, not just how to make a high quality program, but also how to be an entrepreneur as a trainer. So that's coming up. And then what we'll have here is a form that will essentially be the same questions, the same few questions that you would ask when interacting with the AI. It would be right here front and center in this form. You fill it out and then boom, and the same backend process that we demonstrated with the VoiceFlow conversational agent, it's the same thing with this form. As soon as they hit that, Mike will get a text, and then he will reach out to them just to confirm their date, and then moving on to the next thing. With the first design, there will be a menu. And so you open the menu and it's just the titles of each section. And if you click on the section, it takes you to that section like an anchor link. Whereas here you would have that navigation exposed in the header. So if I click on services, it's going to take me down to the services. So that's the difference here. There's also 3 entry points to fill out the form or the information. You got the primary button that's in the header, and then that primary button that's at the end here, and then obviously the chat bot. What happens when you click either of these CTAs, it's going to take you to a Calendly link where you fill out those questions and then schedule the time, and then boom, you're there. You let the system of Calendly handle the reminders, the text reminders, and the email reminders prior to coming in for that in-person assessment. The thing is, I lean partially to the first option simply because if I'm thinking these people are busy, expose the ability to sign up to meet Mike in their face as quickly as possible, right?
Right.
With this second option, you have to access that information through an extra click, and then it opens up a new window. You're leaving the website experience of Access Performance and then hoping that they close the deal while finishing on that new tab, right? If they're busy, they get distracted. Possibly they may not finish it and forget about it. And then we lost the ability to collect the visitor there. Whereas with option one, right at the very end, it's prompting them to provide their contact information, their fitness goals. And then once they hit send, we collect it and we're out of sight, out of mind until Mike reaches out. And then they also see on their Google calendar or whatever calendar they have that they scheduled a time for the consultation. So I like option one. There's pros and cons to both. I like both of them. And then I also had him helping come up with the FAQs for the chatbot. The next thing really is to get those FAQs so that way I can use that to train the chatbot on how to answer questions if people want to dive in deeper and ask more questions about the brand or Mike. So once I get that, I'll upload that into the knowledge base in VoiceFlow, and then that chatbot is pretty much it's ready to go. And then once he makes a decision on the design, then at that point, I will go in and start building it. I'm going to use Squarespace for this build. One, that's just where my area of expertise is, but two, all the necessary code that will allow me to do this design, I already have it all. He's going to sign up and get an account, and then I'm going to use his login to build it for him. I have the code that I can use to inject into that site that allow me to do the exact same effects. But have you used Wix before or heard of Wix.com?
I've heard of it. I haven't messed with it
Okay,
yet.
so that is
I
something.
only know like Webflow and
Webflow and Squarespace.
Those
Got you.
are the only ones that I've messed with, like messed around in. But
Okay.
Wix, no.
Okay. So
Instagram all the time.
I will tell you this. There's levels to everything, right? I would say, and I'm not saying at the bottom as like the worst. I'm going in terms of the level of skill the website builder needs to have in order to effectively build a website.
Yeah.
Wix is at the bottom as far as the beginner level. If you are a complete novice, a complete beginner, but you are entering this field or entering the possibility of designing websites or anything like that, I 100% would say go with Wix first.
Okay.
The UI of building a website in Wix is probably the easiest to understand in Wix. It's probably the easiest to understand in Wix. And probably I think one of the reasons why, outside of just, you know, font treatment and things like that, but you got to think most people are on Figma, right?
Yeah.
When they're designing stuff. Well, Wix was smart in the fact that the UI for Wix, the website builder UI, it looks like Figma. So it's an easy transition. Even like your layers panels on how you expand the layers and do that, it looks just like Wix looks just like Figma. And then on the properties panel, while slight differences, it looks and feels just like Figma. So it's going to be easy to design in Figma and then read and build it in Wix. I used to talk a lot of shit about Wix. I'm gonna be honest with you. I used to talk a lot of shit about it because I was not a novice. I was intermediate, right? So like, I'm like, this is not working for me. Squarespace to me is in the middle. So like at the very top is like Webflow, Framer. Those things are at the very top where like you could do some advanced, like the coolest shit you'll see built on a website is probably built on Framer, Webflow. But the learning curve on that is very high. That is usually for like a developer who is not trying to code a lot. but
Yeah.
took an interest in design, they would probably flock to Webflow or Framer. Then you have somebody like me in the middle. Is they're a designer, they have some coding knowledge, but they are not trying to flex into be a developer.
Yeah.
Squarespace is probably the one for you because aesthetically they have the best templates out of the box. So the switching of images and text and all that was easier for
Yeah.
a designer because, well, damn, that template already looked close to mine. So let me just go ahead and switch some things out.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been with Squarespace for so long. But I just recently, I'm talking like 2 weeks ago, looked at Wix because I know somebody who swears by Wix. So I was like, okay, let me look and see what you're seeing. And so they showed me. I'm like, oh damn, okay, I need to tell my students. It was like, yeah, because it's just easier for a novice person to come in and you can build something like, holy shit, that looks good. And they're not lying. So I'm actually going to put that on in the community resource. I know I got Squarespace in there, but I'm going to add Wix in there. I've did a full 180 on my thoughts. They've definitely stepped up a hell of a lot. And I like their free model better than Squarespace's. So Wix allows you to basically create unlimited amount of websites, full features, I think, except for integrations, without paying for them. The only time you pay for them is when you're ready to publish it. Squarespace does something similar, but it's only for like 30 days. So after 30 days, they cut your access off. You can't edit the website anymore. You have to publish and pay for it. Whereas Wix, there is no, hey, in 30 days, we're cutting. No, the minute you go in there, sign up for a free account, you can start designing a whole website. And they allow you to preview it with the effects and things like that. So in this case, I can build out Mike's website in Wix right now, according to my designs. And then we can have all the, you know, the integrations and the animations, all that shit. He can see it. And then when he's ready to pay for it, he can put his card info in there.
Yeah.
And then boom, we're good to go. So knowing that, I think this is a good opportunity for you to design your web design for Access Performance in Wix, because you know at least you can design it and you don't have to worry about paying for it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did sign up for Squarespace and I did the 30 days. But the 30 days was within I guess the next 3 weeks that I got with. So I did sign up, but I haven't even like opened up Wix. I heard about it. But again, at the time, it just sounded like every other website builder.
Yeah, I would recommend Wix, and simply because their free model is just you can't pass that up, man. Allow you to design as much as you want without worrying about it expiring and you can't get in and edit anymore. Like that's BS. So even though I'm a Squarespace guy, I don't like their free model. I don't like their free model at all. I know we had talked about, like, obviously you still want to have like your prototype built in Figma, but we're going to actually build the website in Wix.
Okay.
Now it's you can show me what you got, ask any questions, going from that mock-up prototype stage to let's build it in Wix.
The transition to the mobile was a little tough.
Yeah. I can imagine there's certain principles, you know, that kind of get lost in translation. What was the biggest challenge for you?
Just the I guess like the graphics, the images, and then like resizing the text. So trying to figure out like I'm still trying to figure out like a good size, but I mean I got a size. I did the 3 mock-ups. And I did the same ones that I did for the website, and then just condensed it into a mobile version. So,
oh, you did 3 wireframes,
or the 3 wireframes and 1 mock-up here.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's basically these 3, 2 lo-fi and 1 high fidelity.
Yep.
And then I just made them into to fit like a mobile.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mock-up is basically the high fidelity with images, and then just elaborated more on
Mm-hmm.
what I did. And so with the website, I try to do that Adobe stock,
Oh,
and
okay, yeah,
I didn't get a lot of images. That video took all my credits.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
the
there's just
one
not cheap,
video,
man.
so I was only able to snag one video and two images. So finding the images was pretty tough. But again,
Well,
the
one thing, too, you can download previews of images and video.
um
So what will
have
happen
the
is
watermark or
it
no?
will have it will just have the watermark on it. Like
Okay.
you even see, like, even in my designs, I have 2 images that have watermarks on them because I wanted to, like, get approval of the image that I used. That's always, something to keep in mind.
Okay.
You could fake it that way, but obviously for a final, right? You
Yeah.
definitely would want to have it. So I totally get you. Yeah, it's
Because
hard.
I started with some that had the watermark and they were good images. It's just I was
Expensive.
out.
Yeah.
That
Mm-hmm.
video took all the credits, and so I just worked with what I got. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the images I was looking for images that related to Axis performance, and then also had like some blue tint, like some blue tones in it. Just because I didn't want the colors to be all over the place
Mm-hmm.
and still have like the same like dark contrast. So I have the hero video,
Mm-hmm.
the chatbot, updated the header, and then the about page, condensed it. Luckily with the image, uh, the whole thing was blurred, so I
Mm-hmm.
was pretty comfortable just putting text on it instead
Mm-hmm.
of moving it to the side like I had before in the
Yeah.
wireframe. And so I implemented the same concept for the tabs,
Mm-hmm.
explaining each of the programs. So the personal training, nutrition, recovery, and then I put development program. The one I
Mm-hmm.
forgot was like that gut analysis. So that's one because when I was looking into the footer of the website, I in
Mm-hmm.
the tab it had said the gut analysis, and I completely forgot about it. So I would still have to revise this to add that part.
Yeah.
Um, and then the testimonials marquee.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went on ChatGPT to just come up with some quotes from
Yeah.
clients. And I also got ChatGPT to develop the descriptions on these three. This one, I still need to figure out how to explain it. I guess just to uh, double check like my information in regards to that program that he wanted to help them become entrepreneurs and also train them. And then the consultation page at the end. This image I just copied from I saw like a pretty cool I think it was like during the week. I saw a pretty cool graphic that this dude made on
Mm-hmm.
Behance. But he had like the same effect, but with
I
fashion.
see. Yeah.
And so I just try to incorporate like fitness into it, kind of like some Nike deal.
Mm-hmm.
Edited the image and everything, and then the footer. And so when I saw the gut health analysis, that's when I peeped that I'm missing
Gotcha.
in mine. And so the mobile version is the same thing. Now my issue was the text sizes
Uh-huh.
as well as cropping the images. I don't exactly know like the rule on condensing a website into mobile. So I peeped the mobile website for Lifetime and Equinox, and all I noticed was that they cropped images of the original ones that they had.
So you say you're having trouble with the typography, like trying to get the right like font sizes and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you notice the size difference between the desktop and the mobile? Like, did you line them up and kind of take a look and see what the size difference was?
I saw that they were smaller, but I didn't.
But it might not be that much smaller. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So like if you put like the screenshots of, both of them next to each other, you see they're really not that far off. Like now let me ask you this, how would you measure the size?
I put the 1440 on this one, and then the 390.
No, the size of the fonts. How would you measure the size of the fonts right now?
Side by side, just having them side by side.
Well, I mean, how do you know what size the fonts
I
are?
would
Like,
put in
get ready for summer of a lifetime.
a text box there, and then just type something up, and then play through
And see how tall it is, if it's 24, 23.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, now there's another way you can do it. You actually go to the websites.
Oh,
All right.
inspect.
Yeah, right click and hit inspect. And then what you do is up at the top, you see elements, console, sources.
Yes.
Okay, so next to elements on the left, you see that icon, look like a device and a laptop.
Yeah.
If you click that, you can now go at the top and see, play around and see what size device you want it to be on to test out what it will look like. So if you all the way go over to the left, you see dimensions, iPad Air, and then what the dimensions are.
Yes, I see.
Okay, if you click on that drop down of iPad Air, you can select what device you want to see the size on.
Okay, right now it just says responsive, so I'll just have to put it in.
Oh, do you have any other? Do you see like iPhone SE, anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So now if you go to like iPhone SE.
Yeah. I put the 12 Pro.
Well, SC is like standard. The 12 Pro is 390. That's the same, like that's the bigger size models. So you want to start with like the smallest for these mobile web responsive sites.
Okay.
So you got the desktop full, and then you do the design of the smallest, which is typically the 375 by 667. So then from here, you can now, if you go back over to where like elements, console, sources, we clicked on the device button, that one next to it, that allows you to select or hover over an element on the left and size things. So now if I hover over to get ready for a summer of a lifetime, I'm looking at it. I see the font size is 22 pixels.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
So, all right, now, and I see join today, that's 17. All right, so let's scroll down. All right, athletic country clubs, that's 34. Love your life, that's 14. Interesting places, 14, 15, font 15. So now you're starting to see what the type scale is. All right, so at the very top on mobile, the biggest font is 34 pixels. Then the next one is 22. Then the next one is 17. Then we got, excuse me?
How are you seeing like the biggest sizes to the smallest?
Well, let me share my screen.
Okay.
Let's just do the entire screen. All right. So you seeing everything here?
Yeah.
All right. So this is where you doing your investigation comes in, right? So I click this here and now I'm hovering over stuff. All right. That's 12 pixels. That's 22. That's 17. That's 34. Okay. 14. So I am taking a mental note of what do I see on the screen? And then you scale it. All right. At the very top, your H1, that's 34 pixels. Your heading 2, that's probably the 22 pixels we saw. Heading 3, 17 pixels. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you all the way from H1 to H6. Now, that doesn't mean that they will automatically have an H6. That's just the height, the top, the maximum. But if we're looking here, they really only got like 2 header sizes. They got this 34 pixel one right here. That's H and C. And look at that. We see right there, they label that as their H2. You see that in the code? H2, work, live, stay heading, text UI, text uppercase, font serif. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So this is their H2. I wonder what their H1 is. If this is their H2, this is the H1. Okay, so that's interesting. They got their H1 actually smaller than their H2. That's weird. Okay, so this is H1. This is paragraph text. That's H1. Okay, here we go. H1. All right, so I'm not tripping. So it is H1. So their H1 is 34 pixels. Their H2 really is 22 pixels. Their H6 is this all caps 14 pixel. That's their H6. And then their paragraph text is actually 15 pixels. H2. So this is how you're able to see, all right, well, this is their type scale here. And then they got a 16-point font, paragraph font here. 13 all caps, 13 all caps. So this is how you figure it out. And then you scale it out, and then you go, all right, I'm going to do mine the exact same, or no, I'm not. I'm going to use different scaling. Right now, you can use a base unit of 8. You can use whatever you want. You know, Apple doesn't use that. They have their own. So they'll have like some odd numbers, just like we saw in there, like 22, 17, 19, 34. Like, but I'm sure it's using some sort of scale. Like I would have to document everything, and then I would be able to figure it out. I'm like, oh, okay, so they're using a Fibonacci type math base unit versus a base unit of 2 or 4 or whatever. So that's a little trick for you. That's how you're able to, so you can now know, all right, on mobile, I'm going to use this scale versus on desktop, I'm going to use this.
Okay. And yeah, because I was using the typography from the apprentice toolkit, like the sizes. And, like 24, and then I think it went down to 18 and 16, and then 14. And so I try to stay around those.
Yeah, and that's kind of standard. I mean, again, all of this shit is made up. It's whatever you're using, but just be consistent with it. Like make it make sense, and then be consistent. That's all we're saying. It could be whatever the hell you want. There's a good book actually, Type on Screen. The original version, Type, a required reading in colleges for graphic design. They have, I think now it's on Type 2, but this one is the third one. It's Type on Screen. So new typographic systems based for the digital screen. So this will help you like know how to create a type scale or a typographic system for each device you're designing for. That's a good one there. So let's go back to your designs real quick, because there's some things I want to point out. All right, let's zoom in a little bit more, like we're going like section by section. Did you mess with the prototyping of this at all?
No, not yet.
Okay, all right. So I can eliminate that. Right off the bat, we have an issue with compliance. I can't see that about what is access performance, right? I'm sure it's going to be a video, right? You're trying to create a video. So that will probably differ with the type of images you use in the video. But just as I'm looking at it right now, if I had no idea that this was going to be a video, that would be an issue. Okay. So you just got to think about that. Like as you're editing the video, make sure you are using videos, because you know where that header is going to be. Make sure you're using videos that are more than likely going to have a dark contrast up there at that top right corner.
Yeah, I try to keep that in mind, because you mentioned it when we were talking about the wireframes, and I had like white text over like a gray background.
Yeah, same thing.
Something darker.
Yeah. Just contrast. Because what's going to happen is, and there's contrast checkers you can use online. This contrast checker allows you to make sure that you're WCAG compliant, meaning that people who have trouble seeing or are legally blind, they're able to actually read your content. So what you would do here is you have the foreground color and the background color. What the hell does that mean? In my design, right, we're going with like a black design and white text, right? The white text is in the foreground. It's in front of the black, right? So what I would do is I would get the hex code of the two colors. In this case, we said my background was this black color, right? And then you see how this hex color for the foreground, everything is failing.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is, hey, this color is way too dark to be on top of that background. You either need to lighten up the background or lighten up the text. Do something, but there's not enough contrast. They're too close, right? And what they're saying is you always want to be AA compliant. So meaning you always want to see AA pass. You always want to see. Now, if you want to be AAA compliant, that means you will more than likely never be sued by the I forgot the name. It was like the National Society for the Blind.
Yeah.
They go around suing companies because like their websites are not accessible to people who are blind or legally blind.
And this is like some accessibility deal.
Exactly. This is
Like
accessibility.
catered to them, just to like cater to people with disabilities.
Oh, it's the kid paper with all people with some sort of disability. Yeah, like that's the standard. And if you don't, you're gonna find out real quick when a lawsuit come at you.
Yeah.
Right?
No, architecture is the exact same way. So
What you're seeing here is, hey, for normal size text, which and they tell you what normal is. I want to say normal is, well, let's say large is 14 point and bold or larger. So if you got text that's 14 pixels and it's bold, then it's considered large text. If it's 15, 16, 17, 18, you're going into large text. What they're saying is, hey, for this contrast that you currently got going on, for large text, it fails. For normal text, it fails. And if you were just like designing a graphic with it, it fails.
Yeah.
But here, if I lighten up, and now you're starting to see it's passing. So now I know I can use for my text, I could use this gray color with this background, and it has a contrast ratio that passes all compliance. This is how you're able to tell. So if you were to take your eyedropper tool over your design, and you would get like that yellow color, and then you would put white text. So you'll put that yellow for the background and white text for the foreground, and you will see it fail.
I was running into that issue with when I was going over the programs and having the different large images. The background color changes, and some have brighter backgrounds and some have darker ones. So I was just like, I had like a background on it, but I guess we'll get to it when we get there.
This is still a lot of text. I would want to challenge you to see how it would look like to get ChatGPT to help you shorten this, make it a little bit more concise, because I want to see more of the image. Like this black box is kind of cutting off like some key parts of it. You want to see the hard work that he's putting in as well as the equipment. So I think it's cutting off a little bit more. Have you also explored like just moving it toward the left side of the screen rather than the right? The whole block, right? The whole block of text, you have it offset to the right. Have you tried to the left?
No, just because like I mainly made that decision because of how the image was laid out. It had like the focus on the left side of the image, and the blurring was on the I guess on the right. Yeah. So I moved the text.
Yeah. So what I would also get in the habit of is creating multiple variations of the same thing, right? Of the same section, because that kind of helps you exhaust, like get all of your options out and see, oh, okay, maybe I didn't know that this one worked a little bit better. Because I could tell you, like optically, the padding that you're using for the text inside of the block optically looks off. It looks like you have more left padding than on the right side. It doesn't look centered. So that's also throwing things off. That's a big gap over there on that left. But I would challenge you to see if you can get the text lines down, because that's a lot of lines of text. And then two is usually a little bit of a design faux pas. I forgot what they call them. There's a name for them, but you see how your paragraph on every line is pretty much full, except for the last one. You have that one word by itself, fullest. Yeah, so you typically don't want that. You want it all the text to fit on a line, and if you do break a line, then you don't want to leave one word by itself isolated on one line. So that's what I'm saying, like shorten it up. Maybe right now, if I count, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines of text. I would maybe try and get that to half, man. See what like 4 looks like. And then, you know, that will also give you more flexibility as it comes to the width of this box. You can maybe even shorten it up a little bit and go 50-50 split, because right now it looks like it's almost like a 60-40-ish kind of split. It's covering up 60% of the width and you left out 40% over there. So maybe if you were to shorten the lines of text, you can shorten the box and make it 50-50, or, you know, maybe not. And this is where that optionality comes in. So maybe you would have one section that's 50-50, one that's 60-40, and one that's 70-30 or something like that, right? And then you can make a decision. So that's what I would say here. And then even play around with like maybe shifting it to the left, or maybe it's you don't need a box. Maybe it's just you add so right now click on the actual image, and you see how over there on the right panel, the fill section, and you see the plus sign over there at the top right of that fill section. Add one of those. So that's now a layer, right? That you they put a black layer that's at 20% opacity
over the image,
over the entire image. So maybe what you can do is click on the box that the text is sitting on. Just hide it. Just hide that.
What's the hide?
If you go over to the layers panel on the left, hide that. So now click on the image and go back to that layer, that 20% layer. Maybe bump it up to 40% instead of 20. Maybe it's 50 or 60. And so you're seeing like the text comes out, right? And you didn't need that box now. So this is where, like I'm saying, options, like you can create yourself options and just see which one you like better. Oh, that's what I would say. Like I would challenge you to do that. And then so that way you can get all your ideas out. And then you might tighten up and finalize your design a little bit better and get you down to a mock-up that you really like. And you say, yep, this is what I want to build. I want to build this.
So if I do have all of those options, do I make the decision of which one to go with?
So in this scenario, we are saying yes, you are, but this is an opportunity where you would introduce to your client. So you would give them different versions. And then, but the thing is, you also, you got to understand based off the laws of UX, right? People don't hold more than 7 things in like their working memory. So you don't want to overwhelm people with like 8 options, right? I always say, like in the beginning, you have 3 and keep 4 and that 4th one in the tuck. Or it's you show them 2 and you keep a 3rd in the tuck, right? That's my rule of thumb when it comes to options, right? You give, and if and how I'm structuring that, let's just say I go with the 3 options to keep a 4th, right? So option 1 is basically my interpretation of word for word what they told me. So I'll design that. Then the second option is 100% Everett's interpretation. That's that option. And then the third option is a blend between mine and theirs. So it's like theirs, but like best practice, right? Here's that. And then that 4th one is a mix of one of those 3 or just like another me version. I like this design, but I'm going to keep this here in the back because there's not 100% everything I like, but it has a nice blend of things that I like. I'm going to keep that just in case they say they don't like none of my options.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I would bring that option up. If they not liking any of them, then I bring that secret weapon one.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of like
Yeah.
how I would think about the optionalities here. In this case, you are going to be the deciding factor, but I just want you to get in the habit of creating options and not being married to one thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Since you're kind of going with this one design, all right, now let's play around with options within each section then,
Yeah.
right? And it same goes for the mobile design. But let's scroll down to the next section though. I see the influence of what you were trying to do with the Lifetime Fitness, the way that they go to the next page with their carousel. What's killing me is this extra background padding, light blue padding behind your tabs.
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about like putting text over images that have different contrasts, so like black backgrounds, white backgrounds.
That's where that when we created an extra layer on top of the image, that's where that would come in. So you would say, all right, you would take a look at all your photos. You're like, all right, man, these are on a little bit on the lighter side. All right, well, I'm gonna add an all black 20% fill, 40% fill on top of it, just so that way when I do put text over the top of it, we can see it with enough contrast.
Yeah.
So I would play around with that. Like that image is bright as hell. So I would probably add what that is called an overlay. It's also called a skim, but most people will kind of an overlay. You need an overlay with like, let's do 20%, 40% opacity, 60% opacity. Let's see what that looks like. That's called an overlay. So I would play around with an overlay on top of the images. But what I would do, because I'm doing that, I would kill that light blue rectangle.
Yeah.
I would kill that. Instantly kill that. Same thing, the padding on that experience, personalized, that's a lot of padding on the left and the right, even the top. Like that's a lot of padding. I would, if you're gonna, I know you're drawing inspiration from Equinox's boxes.
Yeah.
Like the white box and the text inside. Remember what I said the first time? Hey, copy it. Size, text size for that, and then apply that to yours. And then you can kind of decide as far as the scale of it.
Yeah.
But you know, the padding size in their boxes, like copy that, because this one is too much on the left and right.
Inspect as well?
Now possibly if you can't do it, then that means they're images.
Okay.
So if you do the inspect mode on Equinox's website and then you try to figure out what the padding is and the text size inside those boxes, then that means and you can't, that means it's not code, it's an image.
Okay.
So what you would just do is the same thing like you would as far as trying to figure out what size it is. You would take a screenshot, bring it in Figma, and then size it up with rectangles and text
and match proportions.
And then match proportions.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's what I would say here. I would legit copy what your inspiration is first, then freestyle it.
They did the darker image.
They did a darker image and had an overlay on it, and they had a gradient fill overlay on it. So I would definitely play around with that. Okay. Let's see. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. I want to make sure that was. Yeah, on all the images, just play around with the treatment. Okay, the next thing, the testimonials. You have like basically these card structures that's going to be scrolling like that. Okay. All right. I would also say take a look at some other testimonial layouts just to explore. I don't know how I feel about seeing these 3 stacks of lines scrolling like this.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. Keep this as one option and then look at some other layer and some other options. And then this last part right here, unlock your potential, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think that's a lot of text. I would try and see what ChatGPT will look like, another version, right, of shorter text. Right now, that image definitely, from what I've seen, doesn't look like it matches the aesthetic. Right. It's a cool image, but I don't think it fits the images that you chose throughout the rest of the site. Like just the exposure type, the level, like it's different. I don't know if it fits.
If it relates.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it relates because like, and then if you also look at everything else, you don't really have, like, if you scroll up outside of the text and that box treatment, um, the rest of it doesn't look, you don't have very many things that are like overlaying things. Like you're pretty much showing focus on the movement, the attention, or the subject, and nothing's overlaying it. Like nothing's overpowering it, nothing's interrupting it. Whereas when you have that image of that lady running and then that, but you're interrupting that flow for what reason? And it doesn't make sense compared to the other imagery treatments that you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just say, just explore another option. It doesn't mean that you can't have some sort of movement. I just think like the shot and the image doesn't match the aesthetic of the other images.
I got you.
Yeah, man. So that's all I got for you. Do some options, then come out with your best one. And then you're gonna start building out the website in Wix.
Okay. And is that where I do the prototype, or do I do the prototype in
Prototype is in Figma.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right then.
Coolio, man. I'll let you.